Alright, this is gonna be hard. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really like this weapon. I just don't see what it's really supposed to be doing when there's so many other options that do it better. Its Mysteriums make it seem like it should be good, but from my experience, the damage isn't worth the trade-off, and it slows down every other playstyle available. But I did have to play with this weapon a lot, for testing with this build and for getting the footage for the video. And I don't want to make it seem all bad, so I can talk about a few good things about the weapon. It is fairly powerful. The timed shots hurt everything on the field. It will dish out a good amount of damage, very slowly, and it doesn't need its third Mysterium to kill shit. And that's all I can think of. It's a short list. Other aspects of this weapon are questionable from a design standpoint. So I'm going to take this build review a little differently and look at what can be done to this weapon to make it a worthy pick over other options that have a higher trade-off and more to offer. First up, the requirements to activate the third Mysterium should be lowered. Other weapons like the Frostbite and Hailstorm need 3 of something to activate their most powerful effects. But those weapons are powerhouses, and it's generally easier to activate their special effects, which come with way higher trade-offs. For the Hypnosis right now, needing 3 perfect shots in a row to activate the third Mysterium, the special effect isn't strong enough, which makes the payoff for fully charging and timing every shot not worth it. Maybe lowering the count down to 1 is too much to ask for, but that's my suggestion. You may think that lowers the skill level of this weapon, and I guess that's inevitable, but it would really bring this weapon up a grade or 2 if just that alone were done to it. Otherwise, you're missing out on a lot of damage in combat trying to obtain and hold on to that electric charge. Focusing so much on landing those 3 perfectly timed shots, then hoping an enemy doesn't dodge or die from one of your spells, causing you to miss, then sending the counter back down to 0. So lowering the requirements will make the feel of this weapon both more satisfying to use and make it more appealing to run as a primary. Then I would work on the timer. Either shorter or a longer sweet spot window, or just allow players to hold the charge while ADS. This isn't really a game where you want to be standing still, so your timing is constantly being interrupted, especially since most of the enemies can just dash at you from across the battlefield, or just shoot at you from afar. And enemies can always just dodge at the last second, or you've got something trying to throw you off with an attack. Being forced to stop aiming and reposition mid-charge, or trying to time a shot mid-jump is a nightmare. A shorter timer, or easier perfect shots, or holding on to them as long as you're aiming would alleviate all of those problems. There may not even be a need to lower the 3 perfect shot requirement if one of these ideas were implemented. But then it would still need something to do against bosses. When I said the time shots hurt everything on the field, I left out the part about this thing being terrible against bosses. Unless you're relying on the damage coming from your other gear, the Hypnosis is going to struggle. This is the part where I mentioned the third Mysterium needs a damage boost. Any other weapon that requires some sort of rhythm or sequence timing to make the most of them both have a higher damage potential and have better utility. It's not really that the base damage of charged shots isn't good enough, though I feel it can still be tweaked a little. But the payoff for landing those 3 long-ass timed shots ends up being anticlimactic. I did notice the third Mysterium dealing a good amount of spike damage, around 200 or 300 a few times. But that's just not enough considering the requirements it takes to make it happen. And besides that, it's very inconsistent. So I say give the Hypnosis a damage boost on the third Mysterium. But that would only make it more powerful, and do nothing to help it feel more satisfying to shoot. So at least one of the other changes I mentioned should also be implemented. And those are the best changes I could think of that will make this weapon more satisfying to use. If I had to pick just 2 of the 3, the damage boost and making the timer feel better. That will make the Hypnosis more competitive when sized up against other weapons that outperform it. Either way, I hope this thing is one of the first weapons to be looked at during balance changes. When I started making this video, I realized I haven't found a reason to use the Hypnosis since the early game when it was one of the only weapons I had. Maybe after playing around with it a little more, I'll find a playstyle for it to validate using it or something. But until then, here's to hoping that with the future updates and patches, this weapon will get another look.